This short video is explaining a really simple and easy feedback structure that anybody can use in the workplace, particularly for managers and leaders. Feedback is one of those areas where, when done well, it's really impactful on the performance of people. However, my experience suggests that a lot of people shy away from giving feedback. They either go in too heavy or actually they go in too softly and pussyfoot around the issue, and then actually the person is left none the wiser on what they need to improve or do differently to increase their performance. So this is a feedback structure I've been using for a long time, and the feedback that I get about the feedback structure is that people find it really easy to use. And the reason it is really easy to use is because there are actually only 4 key stages. And even though there's a lot more information around this, there is actually only sort of 4 key things that you need to keep in your head. Which means, for instance, that actually it's very easy to do on the hoof as a workaday manager, going about your business and interacting with people and being able to actually coach on the hoof and give feedback on the hoof. And that's why it's so great. And the reason being is that there are only 4 headings to really think about. The first stage is very much about getting the other person talking. As with coaching, the key important thing with feedback is to find out what's on the other person's mind first of all, before telling them what you think of their performance. So this actually gets them to do that, and it's very much about saying to people, okay, how did that piece of work go? If they deputised for you at a meeting, generally how did it go? Or if they've done a report or something, a specific task, just get them generally talking about it. That's the first stage. What you will find is a lot of people will go straight into the negativity, which is completely human nature. They will very much focus on what didn't go well, in which case you need to bring them straight back to stage 2, which is what actually went well, what actually worked when you tried out that task or that new thing, and what did you enjoy. That's an alternative. So for instance, if somebody's gone to a meeting on your behalf, you can have that conversation with them as part of the debrief, is what went well, what did they enjoy. And you will find that actually sometimes you have to work quite hard to get people to focus on the positive things. People are usually much harder on themselves than you will ever be. So make sure you don't miss out that stage. The important thing is, once they've actually said to you what they think worked, what went well, that gives you the opportunity to feed in your observations too. So if you were actually saw them doing it, or you've actually seen the results of the piece of work that they've done, a good thing you could do there is actually to reiterate you agree with them that actually that piece of the work did go well. Or actually you can add in something new for yourself, something that actually you noticed that was positive that they modestly haven't picked up on. So that's stage 2, that's the positive element of feedback. Stage 3 is, for want of a better word, probably the negative, the more developmental side, which is what didn't go so well. So the point of feedback is for people to learn something. So you need to ask them what didn't go so well. And actually you'll find most people are very forthcoming on critiquing their own performance and telling you all the things that went hideously wrong. Allow them to do that, make sure they don't beat themselves up. You may want to agree with some of those things, because actually that makes it easier. You don't have to deliver any negative feedback. They're actually doing it themselves. But it does mean if there's anything they haven't spotted, that you have spotted, that's your opportunity to put that in. It's much easier. And managers say to me, it really creates a nice atmosphere where people are not defensive, because you've started with the positive, then you've gone into the negative, but they've actually picked more holes in their performance than you will ever do. So it creates a nice, easy way of actually handling perhaps difficult feedback. So the key thing with stage 2 and 3 is that the person that you are working with has to go first. That is so important. I'll say it again. The other person has to go first. So as the manager, this isn't about you giving feedback. It's almost coaching feedback out of people. So if they go first, they are less likely to push one of their defensive buttons. And it creates a much more open, two-way conversation, which of course is what feedback should be. Now there's no point giving feedback if you're not actually going to do anything with it, because then what's your motivation about? So the final stage is really thinking about, okay, we know what's gone well, we know what hasn't gone so well, what do we need to do differently next time? And that's a really important stage not to miss out. Again, get them to go first. You can also put in your own observations afterwards, but largely let them work it all out in a very coaching style. Even if they're never going to have to do it again, that is still a useful question to ask. If you had to do it again, what would you do differently? It really helps to mould somebody's learning muscle and help them to actually look at learning from different situations and maybe how they may apply that to something else that's completely different. The final stage, if you need another stage after that, is really to sort of pin them down on some actions. So if they've said what they will do differently, they actually need to action, then perhaps pin them down on when are they going to do that, how are they going to do it, you know, on when should you, and then be reviewing when that action's taken place. And that's really almost a final stage of the process. So the key things are always let them go first, always be specific about the feedback in terms of what went well or what didn't go so well. So actually focus on specific behaviours. And try to just keep those headings in your head, and you'll find that feedback sessions are just so much easier, and you actually have to do less work in the end.